Yo, what is up? It's Tygan, and welcome to my twisted world. So today I wanted to rank all of the male Mortal Kombat ninja designs individually, and then at the end I might put them all together and make a giant mega list. And I was inspired to do this because with the recent drop of the Reptile reveal for Mortal 1 Combat, they have we finally have pretty much all the designs for the MK ninjas, the male ones, uh, all up to date. So if there is any time to do with this list, it's now. And I find this topic actually kind of interesting. It's not it's not just like an arbitrary thing. I find it interesting because Mortal Kombat, of course, started out with all of these guys just being palette swaps of each other as a memory saving measure. And then once that wasn't really a necessity, they were kind of stuck with this interesting sort of artistic challenge, which was how do you take all of these characters who are, some of them are ninjas, but a lot of them have very divergent concepts and things that they're supposed to be, and take this like one just template image of a ninja and kind of like uh, diverge it into a unique character. And I want to say that out of every fighting game series, Mortal Kombat is the one that has the most amount of redesigns, just straight redesigns from game to game to game, where the characters feel notably different a lot of the time between them. So I thought it would be interesting to see how they how they've done oh my god, how they've done on that over the years. So first up, you have to get out of the way the fact that the first three Mortal Kombat games, all of the ninjas are just palette swaps. So I have represented that here. Bear with me. A lot of the images got cut off. A lot. I'll have visual aids up on the screen when I'm talking about them. A lot of the so I've represented the three just kind of base template ninjas here with the scorpion sprites, and then the third one is Chameleon because haha, isn't that funny because he's like all of them. So I guess I could, if I really wanted to, rank when I talk about the characters, rank them like their 1 through 3 designs individually, but I don't know. That would just be me saying I like this color more than this color kind of thing. It's just not very interesting to me. But I can talk about the costumes overall, and I think I like them in literally like descending order. So at my number one, my absolute favorite, I might change what these tiers are called. My absolute don't pay attention too much to like the tier names, just the placings of them are more important to me right now. My favorite one would easily be the MK3 design. I'm gonna put them down here like this. So the MK1 design, it's fine. It's like a party city ninja. That's cool and all. It gets across exactly what it needs to. I think the MK2 version of the costume is a little more polished. You have this sort of like diamond, almost like cross hatching or cross stitching on it, which I think gets that sort of I don't know. It gets that the ninja feeling across a little bit better. Also, it's higher resolution, so I think just by virtue of that, it looks a little cleaner. That feels like okay. This doesn't feel as budget as the original game, did. The 3 design I think is great. It still retains that very sleek triangular like shape with the torso, but it has this interesting like three segment top, which feels to me like I feel like the MK2 ninja look is a really good ninja, but the MK3 look is a really good fantasy ninja, if that makes sense. It's just got like a little bit of interesting. I don't know. I really like that little design choice. It's very simple and readable, but uh, I don't. It feels like there's a little bit of culture to it. It's very. This is all pseudoscience. That's how I feel about these. I generally like if the MK3 design exists for the character, I prefer it to the other two. And then sticking with Chameleon, I would have to, just because gonna do this in like alphabetical order because that's the way that that's the way that I put these together. So, we're gonna go straight to C for Chameleon. I do really like his MK3 one, but I actually want to say that there's something I like about his Armageddon appearance, his sort of redesign as like a more unique character, a lot more. I mentioned that the kind of cross hatching makes me feel like more of a ninja, and I feel like if Chameleon is going to be like the ninja shape shifter, like the all ninjas kind of thing, that makes him feel very, I don't know, archetypal. I feel like I'm sort of going back on what I said about preferring the MK3 design, but I think this one is cool. I think like the headband is neat. His like weird ghostly kind of see-through limbs and head and stuff. He's very mysterious, and I don't think they've ever actually said what Chameleon is. They might have been probably some throwaway line about he's one of Shao Kahn's bodyguard, just like one of those characters. But I really like this design. I think it's cool and a good way to like differentiate him from the other ninjas. The way that he like changes color in his when he does different moves, I think that's super cool. Yeah. Okay, so next up is Cyrax, and we have to talk about just the. I will also discuss the. I've used Cyrax. I also have Sektor over here. I might just ignore that, but I have both of them. The basic default palette swap cyborg look. I like it a lot. I think it's really cool. I've always liked the cyborgs. I love the idea of a cyborg ninja. It's wonderfully campy in a way that Mortal Kombat early honestly like up to like NRS era feeling where they were still really leaning into the corny aspect of it. Like campy maybe is a better word for it. Uh that it really hits for me. And then we have the Deadly Alliance redesign. This one is it's fine. This one is okay. I think my problem with it is it's a little too like flat and undetailed in like the chest. It's just like just a like chest plate thing. You know, Cyrax is cool. Everything about it, you know, him usually generally looks cool, but he looks a little too like, I don't know, like he's from like a 50s B movie where he's made out of cardboard for me in this version. The next actual redesign that he would get would be in MK9, and I am a big fan of the MK9 redesign. I feel like it's not super busy. I generally like a lot of the MK9 spoilers. I'm gonna like a lot of the MK9 designs. I think it's not too busy. It's not too like not. It's easy to go like well, we'll talk about that in a second. Clear. Oh, he's a robot, but he has these distinguishable features. It's solid, like very good. I think on par with the original design. It is a bit of a bummer that he loses that little like ninja flap thing, but I think if they're gonna go more for him being a cyborg. It's good. It's good. MKX, Triborg. I'm counting the Triborgs. I'm not splitting hairs about Triborg being like, whoa, it's a different kid. It's Cyrax. I don't like Triborg. This is going to be, hey, a running theme. The way that I generally like a lot of the MK9 designs, I also generally dislike the MKX onwards designs, and Triborg is a Triborg is a symbol of that to me. I'll talk about it a little more when I get to, I think, the worst one, which would be Smoke. But yeah, just I don't know, too much going on, too like dark in the torso. I don't know, just less cool to me because of how much needless detail there is. And then actually, funny enough, the MK11 design that he's in for like in the unplayable story mode sequences. I like this one a lot. I would put it on par with, actually maybe a little better. If I could make like a tier, let's put these over here. I'm gonna make these are the best ones. I like this one a lot. This one's okay, and I don't really like this one a lot. I think that the MK11 design for him is actually like a really nice balance between the 9 and Deadly Alliance, the 9 and the 3D era designs. He has this, again, this more kind of flat chest area, but there's this interesting kind of like layering going on with the colors. It almost looks like he has a collar on, like a polo collar. But I think it works. I think it's cool. It feels well balanced and not overly busy, like the Triborg design does. Okay, next up, Ermac. Ermac is interesting because he, out of all of the ninjas, I would say probably feels the least like a ninja in his original design, and I'm kind of glad that they started to go. They kind of immediately went pretty far away from the idea of him being a ninja, which they took a little bit of time with some of the other ones. But Ermac immediately is like, as soon as you hit Deadly Alliance, I believe this is the design, he gets... Someone just dropped a plate of something. They have reworked him into Wizard Soul Man, and I like it a lot. I really like the idea of Ermac, because he's like this collective of souls. I really like the idea to have him like be covered in these bandages all over his face. I'm a big fan of Bandage Ermac because it gets across the sense of him being not having like a solid singular identity, and instead being a sort of like, yeah, there's this collective. And the glowing green eyes are really cool. That's why, like, just straight up, I think the MK9 one is an even better. I don't know, something about like the texture and the cloth for his outfit, and the fact that it's, I don't know, it's a little more tattered. He looks spookier. I like him being like a spooky mummy man who is intimidating. Like, I feel like I look at MK9 Ermac and 3D era Ermac, and they, to a slightly lesser extent, and they both look like they're a bunch of souls wrapped up in this one body, and they're going to use these crazy psychic wizard powers on me. Which is why MKX Ermac sucks. I do like the hood. I will say I do like the hood. Anything that gets across the idea of him being enigmatic or not being able to pin down his identity, I think is a strong design choice. But having the fully exposed face is really lame, and he just comes across feeling like a zombie man. Just, I don't know, it's so much less cool than the others in a way that's kind of hard to pin down. And sort of similarly, the Ermac design that went unused, they drew it up, but it went unused for MK11. A lot of people love this design and will say that it's Ermac's best design, and I don't necessarily agree. It looks cool. It's a cool alternate. I think the problem, I wish maybe there's a way that you can do this with like the gear system. Or wait, is there a gear system? Oh, by the way, I'm not doing any alternate costumes in this video because I don't want to be here like all day. So it's just like primary costumes and a couple bonus ones maybe. But I did want to give a shout out to this one because I do think it is cool. I still prefer Deadly Alliance a little bit more. Maybe I put it underneath here just to make it clear where that there is like a separation between my like for this one and the somewhat less dislike for this one. I think it's pretty good. I think it's cool. It would have been cool to see him. He looks very wizardy, and I think that's neat. I just like the band. I just like the mummy man. And we have his MK1 design, Mortal Kombat design, M1K, as a result of the trailer. And as you might expect, yeah, I actually think that this is... I feel like I could add a new tier for how bad I feel like this one is. Maybe it's just the angle, maybe he'll look better in game, but yeah, this one does not look good. It has all the problems of the MKX one. Let him have his bandages. Let him be a scary, identityless soul man. Well, not like that soul man, not like that soul man. And Noob Saibot. I was a little surprised at how few outfits he had, or how few redesigns he had. But yeah, he's only really got like 4-ish. Like basically 4. Again, because we're not counting the ninja design, like the original ninja design. But Noob Saibot, I will say, is one of the ninjas that does feel very, it sounds dumb, but ninja-y. Along with like Smoke. I think Reptile also fits that really well. His whole deal is shadows and shadow clones. Obviously, this was very pre-Naruto, but it brings that to mind in retrospect. I guess I'm actually not a super big fan of how he looks in the like classic trilogy, just because he's literally just entirely black and shadow, and what am I even fighting kind of thing. But as a reimagining, as a rendition of that design in 3D, I think the 3D era design of him is really good. I think it's cool. Having just like an all black ninja character could easily look really boring and bland, and like I don't see what's going on, but giving him a lot of like gray and kind of white accents on his design, all these like little silver details, the white eyes, sells him more as what I think is really cool, which is like the Grim Reaper look. I think that's really neat. He's like a Grim Reaper ninja, and I think that carries across like even actually probably a little better with the MK9 design, with the hood and the mask that almost looks like a skull. looks like Reaper from Overwatch. I think this is a really good communication of that whole idea. It would probably be, I think, like my favorite one if it wasn't for the existence. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to demote you guys, of the MK11 design. I'm sorry, guys, but I am the edge lord and I must edge. Okay, maybe not like that. Maybe not like that. It is the most. It's everything I wanted. It's in an edgelord character, a stupid edgelord character. He's a shadow Grim Reaper ninja with like a shadow assistant. I thought it was Smoke for a while because they always had a thing going on, in like starting in like the 3D era. But no, that's just like a shadow warrior that assists him, which I think looks really cool. I love the hood. I love the stupid sickles. That's so awesome. He's like the perfect. I don't know. He's like the perfect balance of being just super edgy in like a fun Mortal Kombat campy way that I appreciate. Yeah, big fan of MK11 design. I guess he isn't in Mortal 1 combat, so maybe I'm making this list a little prematurely, but maybe he'll be DLC, at which point I'm not gonna remake this list for one character. that's how I feel about the old Boone Tobias. All right, next up is Rain, Purple Rain. So Rain is like a tricky character because, as opposed to Ermac, who was like, okay, well, yeah, let's just make him like a totally different thing that isn't related to the ninja look, really. Rain always had a kind of like assassin element to him. He's like Edge from Final Fantasy IV. He's like an assassin prince, and that's a cool idea. And there's a couple different attempts that they had at it. The first one is the 3D era design for him, which I am not a huge fan of. I don't think it's that good. I think it's fine. It's not my favorite. I don't super much I think it's the cape that really does it for me. It's just like a little too big. If it was like shorter, maybe I would like it more, but I don't know. It's really close to being cool, but the cape kind of kills it for me. It's too big and it doesn't feel ninja. It's a little too royal and not enough ninja. It's like the balance is off for me. A direct contrast to his next redesign, which would be The fucking best one, the MK9 design. This is like, dude, this one is so good. Oh, and speaking of Final Fantasy, yeah, this one partially reminds me of Shadow from FF6, which is always a good thing. I love Shadow. This one strikes the perfect balance for me between the ninja and the prince. He's got the obviously like the all black, the mask and everything. He has these sort of, you know, this light loose clothing, but then he's got the gold accents and all that, and the royal purple that like all the elements are tied together, and he looks like a regal assassin, and it's super cool. Like you totally get what his character is, and you can totally expect him to be some kind of sort of arrogant prince assassin, which is awesome. Awesome. He would then get redesigned again in MKX. Yeah, MKX with this one, which is kind of just like this design, but it takes his shirt off, and I like it marginally less. I am not super huge on it. Again, it's a little close. It's weird. It's kind of like they tried to blend the 9 design with the like 3D era design with the cape and everything, and it's fine. It still retains a lot of the ninja stuff. I think I just don't like the amount of skin it's showing. I think it's just, I don't know, it doesn't feel princely to me that much. I don't know like what he's supposed to be. Like he doesn't feel, I don't know. It's fine. I think it's pretty good. It's not quite as good as the 9 one in my opinion, but it's pretty good. The design for 11 is kind of like exemplary of a lot of things I don't like about MK11's character designs. Uh, in that it's a lot of stuff. Okay, I feel here's a small rant. I feel like starting with MKX and then progressively more and more so as the series has gone on with NRS, they've leaned really hard into the realism aspect of the art style, and as a result, a lot of the characters lose a lot of like they don't pop. They don't have a lot of, I don't know. They've got like stuff. They've got details. Like if you look at Rain in this game, his default design, he's got a lot of details on him of sashes and cloth and patterns and stuff. But I don't know. Nothing really catches my eye. It's very dark and muted, and it isn't interesting. I don't get that much personality out of him. I don't really get a prince vibe out of him. I get more of the ninja vibe out of it, but I don't know. It kind of fails to make an impression over me. It's just sort of like a lot of MK11 designs. It just sort of like feels like he blurs into the background. And I don't know. It's not what I like out of a fighting game character, which is like, boom, here they are. Very articulate, I have a way with words. And then finally, the MK1 design, the M1K design. I have to keep correcting myself for Rain, which was recently revealed. I like this one a lot. I would actually say it's probably up here. Let's reorganize this. I would say, don't pay attention to, this isn't like again, don't pay attention. This is just an order of how much I like them. I like this one a lot. I think it is probably my second. I was a little like, I was a little put off by it at first, especially with the very different, like kind of bright, like golden orange tunic he has going on. But it really grew on me the more that I looked at it, and when I saw it in action. It's a very different take on him, where he's more of like a water mage than a prince or a ninja. And it's weird because it's nothing that I really like about Rain. It's never really been an aspect of his character, but I think it looks cool. I just think it looks cool. I'm a big fan of the staff that he carries. He floats the water orb on that he then he throws around and uses for his attacks. The hood and the face covering still kind of, he has this sort of, I don't know, mysterious thing. If you told me he was some kind of nobility, I'd be like, okay, yeah, he's got some kind of connection to nobility, which I don't know exactly what his lore is in the new universe, but it seems to be at least what they're going for. He's always got some kind of noble princely ties. And I think that this works. It's very different, but I like it. I actually do quite like it. Okay, Reptile. This this one's a biggie. Reptile has had a lot of weird design changes over the years. They have never. They've always. There's always been a sliding scale for Reptile of lizard to man in the Lizard Man. I will say again, a lot like I did with Noob. Reptile is one of the ones that I think was fit the original ninja aesthetic really well. He's got this kind of this neat aspect to him where he's like the fact that he can he's like a lizard, so he can turn invisible, he can, camouflage and all that. The fact that he has this move where he like pulls the mask down and his head morphs into like a lizard head to like shoot the acid out, like revealing his other form or something is really, it feels like a really cool fantasy take on a ninja, and I think it works really well for that original look. Their first attempt to change him was in MK4, and a lot of the MK4 designs were just, I skipped over a lot of them because they're just like adaptations of the previous designs. But Reptiles is very different, and a lot of people hate it, and for, I think, good reason. If you showed me this design and you told me that it was a space alien in like a sci-fi game who was gonna come down and shoot you with his laser gun, I would actually kind of be into the look. If he was a space lizard man, I kind of like it. But for Reptile, the ninja, former ninja, he's always kind of kept the ninja look, assassin look. No, I do not like this. I do not like it, Sam. I am. I do not like green eggs. Green eggs, the man. There's something there. This would be followed immediately by the Deadly Alliance redesign, which a lot of people hate. I love this design. I love that he's a big, goofy lizard with a big lizard head. I think it's awesome. I am really big into the idea of him just being a monster man. I don't know if this should be his design for every game, but the fact that he is just like full lizard here is very amusing to me in a way that I like. He has these big googly eyes that are funny. I don't know, he reminds me, it's funny because I just critiqued MK4 Reptile for looking like a sci-fi alien, but he looks like, in Deadly Alliance, he reminds me of like the lizard man from Star Trek, the original series, in a good way. I love campy lizard man aliens. But I think it's the fact that he looks more ninja-y than the MK4 design. The MK4 one is he's just got these purple pants and all that, but the Deadly Alliance one has those elements of the classic ninja outfit that I think tie it together and keep him as looking like, oh, he's this guy who was morphed into a lizard, which is cool. Then we have the Armageddon, I believe, redesign for him, which toned down the lizard aspects and made him a little bit more of a lizard man as opposed to a lizard man. It feels like a second shot at doing the MK4 design, and I think it's a lot more successful. I think it's better. It's not my favorite. I think so. What gets hung on, this was also, I believe, the design that was used for Shaolin monks. The one sticking point I have on this is I don't like that he just has like a flat face with no nose. I don't like that he's Voldemort. That always looked a little weird to me. I like the overall balance of lizard to man in this design. It's just the face is a little dumb to me. I wish he had some kind of snout, which is why I like the MK9 design a lot. I like the MK9 design a lot more, because he has this mask on, and I think he might actually still have the very flat face, but it's covered under the mask, and he looks like he has this sort of reptile snout, the snoot, and it is feels like a really good take on the lizard man ninja. We're keeping the ninja. We're keeping he's got a good balance of lizard to man. He's not like super lizardy. He still has a very humanoid figure, but he's a little like lanky even. He's a little gangly, but clearly inhuman, and I think that's cool. And then really the MKX design is just kind of a further refinement on that. I would say I like it about as much. It's my favorite next to the Deadly Alliance design. It's just sort of like a polishing up of the MK9 design, where he still pretty much the same thing, but he's, instead of just having this sort of more generic looking cloth on him, he's got like bones and cracked, ribs and stuff in this. He looks more bestial, and I think that's really neat. I think that's a very cool, like cranking up the wild aspect of him. So he's like a wild man lizard. I'm a big fan. And then finally, and most recently, his M1K design, which is interesting. I was not super sold on it at first, but I think the more that I've thought about it, I've had a couple days to kind of think about the design. I really like it. I would put it maybe on par with the MK9 one. They kind of split the difference and made him into just a full-on shapeshifter, which is funny because it's kind of an aspect of the character that was sort of just totally forgotten after the classic era, where they were just like, yeah, just make him like a lizard. But, he was always like morphing slowly into a lizard in lore or whatever. But the idea of this guy who turns from a man to a lizard form, they're sort of bringing that back, and I think it's pretty good. Like, when I actually looked at the ninja design, like what he's going to be wearing in game in battle, it's like if you were to redo the MK3 or the MK2 version of the character, this is a good reimagining. He's got the sort of scaly pattern on his armor and the clothing, still very like hooded and masked look. So he's got all the essentials, and he feels like that sort of reptilian themed assassin. The reptile form, like the lizard form, the one thing I have that I wish was that when he morphed into it, he kept a bit of the armor. I just wish he kept like the shoulder like armor thing or something like that on the beast form, because I don't know, it's just a big green blob to me. Pretty decent design on like a weird sort of like Giga alligator, the Giga Gator. I like this one a lot. I think this is a really good take on Reptile that I actually appreciate quite a bit. Okay, one of the biggest ones, Scorpion, who has been in every single MK game. So we have a lot of designs to talk about. So Scorpion, obviously one of the original MK ninjas, and you get the feeling that he's one of the ones that they really wanted to keep the ninja theming with. But you also have the aspect that he is a demon from hell. It's like, okay, he's like a demon, a demonic ninja, and he's Chinese. He's a Chinese ninja. So how do we communicate that? I really like the Deadly Alliance design. I think just straight starting off, I think it's really good. Making him very gold themed just reminds me of having this. He's got this sort of visual elements that sort of it suggests like greed and avarice, hell, and like deep earth metals. Does that make sense? Like deep underground, like forged in the fire. He's kind of shiny. Got these shiny, gold metallic bits on him. The fact that they gave him these like two swords, these like katanas to use, I think is a really nice addition. He has these weird, like, in MK3 he'll pull out like an axe randomly for like one attack, one part of an animation in a string. So I don't know what that was about. I think that the katanas, like the swords, are a lot better for him. I think those work a lot better for him. Just like really solid, cool, sleek design. Uh, I'm a big fan. I think they did a really good. It's a really good first crack at me at fleshing out the idea of him being like a hell demon. And then immediately for Deception, they went kind of overboard and they gave him way too much armor. Again, I like it when Scorpion trends more towards being a ninja and a having a sleek look. I think the exposed shoulders and arms are a big part of that, and just putting these big shoulder pads. There's just too much stuff on him. If you just took some of it off, I think it would be a perfectly fine design. It's just a little too bulky. It's too much. Scorpion actually would not receive a redesign until MK versus DC, and it's kind of just like MK2. I will put it in the B tier. I know I wasn't gonna talk about designs that were just redos of previous ones, but I don't know. MK vs DC is such a weird approach to the character designs. Like they're kind of like the classic designs. It feels very like out of time. Like it's taking place totally out of time, out of sync with anything else in the series, which I guess makes sense. It's kind of like a spin-off, but it's a mainline game. It's weird. It's fine. It's a good design. You know, it can't go wrong with like a classic MK2 Scorpion look. He's ninja-y. And then you have MK9 Scorpion, and I think that this hits a really nice balance again, that the Deadly Alliance one did. Yeah, the Deadly Alliance design did. Uh, a little like there's just enough like plating and armor on him that he looks, I don't know, it looks hellish. Does that make sense? He has this like hell aesthetic to him with like the crafting and the little spikes and bits on his armor. He feels malicious. But it's just enough that he still looks very sleek and agile. His sword is very cool looking. These little just spikes and bits on him. He looks like a hell ninja. And I think that's what I want out of Scorpion. Just very straightforward. You got it. Next up is a little bit different. I am counting the Injustice design that he had, and I really like it. It's definitely a different take on the character, but it feels very appropriate for a superhero game. It feels like a fun alternate universe idea of like, well, what if we took the common elements of Scorpion's design and we made him into like a superhero comic book character, and he looks, I think he looks cool. He looks like, I don't know, some sort of he almost reminds me of like Blue Beetle in the way that this very insect. I mean, I know it's supposed to be scorpion like fangs and claws and tail details that are on him, but hey, you know, beetle, scorpion, sort of a, I don't know, sort of similar. Or do they belong to like the same family or something like that? Yeah, he feels like Scorpion as like a super villain who would fight like, I don't know, the Flash or something. I really like the bits on his back. I believe those are like his weapons that he pulls out. I don't know. I just the hell aesthetic details of just these little points and curves and like beaked edges are neat. I like it a lot. MKX. It is whatever. I'm gonna put it in the B tier along with the DC design. It kind of feels like a step backwards for Scorpion in a way. Like he's a little too simple, and they kind of took away the parts of him that made him more unique. He looks a lot more default. Like he doesn't have enough flair on him. It's too little. If Deception Scorpion is too much, MKX Scorpion is too little, and he just kind of gives much less, just a smaller impression on me in his base design. And honestly, the same kind of goes for the default look in MK11. Again, it just sort of same MK11 complaints of everyone just they don't really pop. There isn't like a single like I look at the Deadly Alliance one and I go, "Whoa, okay, so this is a character in a fighting game." And I don't know, the MK11 doesn't feel like it's out of a fighting game if that makes sense. It doesn't feel like you're playing a game where you're meant to be looking at the characters a lot from the front or something like that. And then also, unfortunately, also again with the Mortal 1 combat, maybe all these look better with the gear system. Maybe they could look cooler, but as of now, it's just whatever, just a stripped back ninja thing. With hey, if you like that, that's cool, but that's not what I like a lot about Scorpion. It's just fine. Okay, Sektor. This one's fun. I think I like just about every Sektor design. He, I get maybe I just have a bias of if you had to ask me, I like red more than yellow, but I don't know. I have this one again, but yeah, I like the. I forget where I ranked this initially, but yeah, I like this one a lot. I really like his redesign for the 3D era with the I think first of all I think the double lightsabers are cool as fuck. I just straight up I think they look really cool with the pulse blades or whatever. But again, he kind of has a lot of things that I liked about MK9 Cyrax, which is that he's not too busy. I feel like 3D era Cyrax was just a little flat with not a lot of detail. This one has these nice, almost like they look like almost straps on him. He's got this little grill, like just enough little cyborg details that it sells the aesthetic to me, but not so much that it becomes overcomplicated and busy. Same goes for MK9. It's slightly more complicated. Just it's a more detail oriented game, or the character models, a weird way to say it, but the character models just have more detail in them because modern game. So, well, 2011, oh my god, 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, he stands out. He pops. He has the red and the little blue accents with the white. I like it a lot. It hits that again, that sweet spot of not having too many details, but just enough that it sells it to me. Sektor in MKX, I'm gonna put him down with the original design. He looks kind of like Iron Man to me, which is cool. I like it. I actually think he looks pretty good. Him being bright red helps a lot. Like for some reason, I don't know why Cyrax they decided to make just black all in the torso, but actually having him be colorful and cool looking and memorable was a good choice. It again is not as overly detailed as a lot of the MKX designs, I feel, and it's pretty good. Also, I'm a big fan. I also really like the MK11 unplayable just NPC design for him, with a special shout out to, I believe it's like the post Chronica version with the white added in. Like, dude, so cool. America Sektor? Come on. But yeah, 11 Cyrax. It's kind of hard to say, like, I just think it looks cool so many times, but he looks like a character. Like, I want to play a game where he's just the main character. So look at robot centered game. The red, black, the blue act, like these bright blue, almost cyan accents are really nice. Like a great contrast that outlines a lot of his details and his body. Like you don't have to add as much, just bunch of tiny little crammed in details, because you can just highlight them. You can just add less highlights, and it leaves, in my opinion, a bigger impression. It just great outline on like the knees, all these little spots where it's like, okay, we've had a lot of like red and black, let's just throw a little splash of a contrasting color, and it's so nice. Sektor has just great, really good designs across the board. The winner. Smoke. I did not put Cyborg Smoke on here, so I am of the original Cyborg Smoke. So I am of the somewhat controversial opinion. I'll use like Cyrax as the stand-in for that. I am of the somewhat controversial opinion that cyborg smoke is cooler than human smoke. Uh, for some reason, people much prefer human smoke, and I could not disagree more. Specifically, original cyborg smoke. I think he is objectively cooler than human smoke because he's a robot and he's purple. Sue me. And unfortunately, they just sort of dropped the purple look for him after the original trilogy, so that's kind of a bummer. But I do quite enjoy the redesign of him in Deception. I think it looks really neat with like he looks like someone who's been ripped apart and experimented on and jammed together all these weird robot parts. Like the fact that his forearm has like just this, I don't know, like it's got that just two pieces of metal with this gap in between. He reminds me a lot of like Black Manta from the DC comic books with the tubing and almost the diver look. Like he's gonna dive into the smoke. um, I think it looks cool. It's a very cool robot design in my opinion. As a certified robot enjoyer, I love robots. Robots are super cool. Which is also why the Armageddon look is lame and weird and bad, and I don't like it. They were trying to do a thing where he's like a ghost, or he's like made of smoke now, and he's like possessed. It's like he's supposed to be possessed by like a spirit or something, which is, it could have been a cool concept if they kept the mechanical thing. Like, I don't know. It's like I think it would have been so much cooler if they took an idea of like, you ever seen a character who's a knight? This will happen, Castlevania game or something like that. Like a suit of armor that's been possessed by a ghost. I think that would have been really cool if they had like a cool spin on that where it's a cyborg who is possessed by a spirit. Like the brain and the soul inside of the cyborg is possessed by a spirit and stuff, like a demon. That would have been awesome. But they kept the the cyborg, like the corporeal element of him, but no, they just made him a weird smoke body, which doesn't work for me. It's like, how is he punching you? The head is kind of neat. Could have worked if it was part of anything other than just a smoke body, but yeah. MK9 smoke. I don't think I like this. Let me move. Yeah, no, I'll put this up here. I don't think I like MK9 smoke quite as much as most people, but I do think that as another take on human smoke, he after just MK like 2 and 3 and trilogy, where he would smoke, human smoke was just Scorpion. He was just gray Scorpion. This is a really cool way to make him into like a new looking character. Again, he is very like, oh, he's a very ninja-y. He's disappearing into a cloud of smoke. I'm not a super big fan of like just the flat gray color, but it's fine for me. I think what really ties it together is the hair, which is kind of dumb looking, but it's also grown on me as like, oh, it's like flowing smoke. I think if it was just in a different engine or with more modern hair physics, it could have looked a little better. But oh yeah, the idea of this guy was just this long flowing hair that's like smoke and he's moving around is neat. So it's just like a smoke base disappearing into a cloud assassin character. He's cool. I like him. I like MK9 smoke. I do not like Triborg smoke. He sucks, and he is like emblematic of everything that is I don't like about MKX's art style. He is so for some reason, instead of using the same like purple, even like a darker purple color, like the original Cyborg smoke, they chose to make him all black, which just makes him like, he's so lame looking. I feel like he looks like an NPC you would fight. Like, I don't know if this happens in the MKX story mode or something. He looks like when, oh, we have to fight the Triborgs. He looks like a filler fight against like a blank Triborg unit that has no, like, is intentionally just like blank silver black because it's not supposed to have a personality because they're just reusing a model. That's what this version of Smoke looks like to me. He has way too many details. There's so many stupid dark stages in MKX with way too much muddy, rainy garbage nonsense going on that like you cannot like look up footage like certain stages, like that fucking awful one on the bridge with like the rain and stuff at night and the lightning. Like, okay, I get what you were trying to do, but look up footage of uh Smoke versus like Cyrax on that, and you literally cannot tell. You cannot tell who is who. It's except for like the moves that they're doing. Just such a everything I don't like about this game's art. And then finally we have Mortal Kombat Smoke, which is firmly in the okay category. He is a blank, very generic looking ninja. I think what really kills it for me is he's just boring. He's just boring. It's the K-pop hair that he's got going on. He feels like he's just lacking in a lot of personality or style to him. The fact that he's all gray doesn't help. I'm not a huge fan of the tiny little funny little baby knife that he moves with his smoke powers. I think it feels sort of low impact. Uh, it's just if he had like the long hair, I think it actually could have worked. It could have given him a little bit of personality, but he just looks very blank. He looks like a character that you haven't finished customizing yet. That's what he reminds me of. So that's, yeah, there's a big disparity in Smoke designs. Okay, another big one. Sub-Zero, who's been in just about every game. So, yeah, he's like an ice ninja, right? And then you get to MK3 Vanilla, and they introduce Unmasked Sub-Zero, which I don't like. Is it the worst one? Yeah, I think it's the worst one. I think I like this one the least. Unmasked Sub-Zero is just like super. It takes. I don't see what's supposed to be interesting about him. He is just like a guy. He just looks like a generic warrior kind of dude. All of the sense of it being a ninja is gone, and I get that like he's supposed to be like he's excommunicated in this game or something like that from from his ninja clan. He's been excommunicated, but like you could have still kept the ninja thing and just communicated his outcast status with something else rather than just making him a guy, but just very boring and I don't know. He looks like an off-brand superhero, if that makes sense. Also, the fact that he's just a white guy. Like, I know that the ninjas were always played by, at least weren't traditionally played by, like, actually Asian actors. I don't know exactly, like, what... Daniel Pacino's a white guy. But, like, yeah, and I understand that the reason that the actor's different is because it is Daniel Pacino. Daniel Pacino wasn't working with Midway at this time because of contract stuff, but like what you couldn't have found like a Chinese martial artist anywhere in Chicago to play Sub-Zero. The guy named like he's not Bihan anymore. He's the guy with named like a Chinese name who is a Chinese ninja. Like, come on, guys. The scar is sort of cool. I kind of like how it's this goofy, just blah, like red slash over his face, but it's really not enough to save it for me. MK4 is basically a retread of really the Mortal Kombat 1 design. But it gets some bonus points for me for having the scar, which I think adds a little more personality to him. Hey, you know what is one of the even better than that? Let's do he's a ninja, but also he's got ice hands. I love the Deception design. Sorry, Deadly Alliance design for Sub-Zero. I think something about it is so simple. It's so simple and restrained. A lot like Scorpion's design in that game, but it gets across the feeling of him being this like cold, literally and figuratively like assassin character. His fucking hands freeze and stuff. I like the ninja garments that he's wearing. The fact that it's all these like sashes with this big brooch. There's a asymmetry that gives him some edge there. Also, he's still got the scar, which I think is a great touch to keep. I really like this one. This is a great, like, solid ass Sub-Zero design. And it is immediately followed by literally the best one that he has ever had, which I am shocked that they have not gone back to. I'm pretty sure there's like an alternate costume in one of these games that sort of references it, but like, oh, like Shredder Sub-Zero, like Tundra Ninja Lord Sub-Zero. So cool. Something like, I see this and the child in my brain gets really excited. It's like just the perfect amount of armor. He doesn't look overly like heavy or busy. There's just enough like symmetry going on with his design that he looks imposing. He looks like the boss of the ninjas. He looks like powerful in this, in a way where he still feels like an assassin or a fighter. And I really like it. I love the little like fur detail like on the back of his cape and stuff. Just like, oh, so awesome. Such a cool look for him. And then you have, I want to, about on par, I would say, with the Deadly Alliance design is his design from MK vs DC. It's very similar to it, funny enough. Still got the frozen hands, still got a lot of elements of the costume, but a couple small differences, like the patterning on his clothes and all that. It's good. It's decent. It feels like a fusion of a couple previous designs. He's got the mask that's very like trilogy-esque. He has the frozen hands from Deadly Alliance. I love the armbands, by the way, to just keep talking about the Deadly Alliance design. I love the armbands that like separate the frost from like the regular flesh parts of his arm. I think that's really cool. Yeah, it's solid. It's fine. It's good. It's like everything I've said about I've already said about the DA one. And then the MK9 design, which is also fine. It's a very back to basics Sub-Zero. Not a lot of flair, not a lot of super interesting stuff. And unfortunately, that kind of becomes the MO for his designs going forward for a couple games. He is just blue ninja. That's his deal. He's a blue ninja guy. Special shout out to Cyber Sub-Zero, which I think is also a good design. I would put it up here, somewhere up here, maybe in between these if I really wanted to. I'll just put it down here at the bottom of this row. I think that of the cyber designs, this one is pretty neat. A lot of like that cold silver in his design, like the idea, oh, he's like a machine, he's cold. Oh, that works. Interesting take on the character. I like it. I like it. Probably not my favorite, but I appreciate that it's there. I don't feel like ranking the MKX one. I'm struggling to even remember what it looks like. So that's that. MKX Sub-Zero. Yeah, again, I just very basic, honestly kind of boring ninja look for me. I get that they kind of augment it with the variation stuff, but I'm not a huge fan of the variation. I'd rather it's just one character kind of thing. I'd rather it was just one character that I can assess and check out on their own. Yeah, there's a weird pattern like to the fabric of his top tunic thing. It almost reminds me of like a winter coat. Like an REI jacket or something like that. I don't know if that was the intention, but yeah, it's whatever. This is the Injustice 2 design, and I really like it. I like it a lot. I'm gonna put it above Cyber Sub right here, kind of up here with these ones. Again, much like Scorpion's design from Injustice 1, he looks he looks like we took the idea of an ice ninja and we made him into like a super villain or a super mutated character or something like that. The ice that's like literally coming out of his arms and stuff, like his body's turning into frost or it's merging with it, a lot like the Deadly Alliance designs. I think that's a running theme. I think I just like it when Sub-Zero is part ice. The hood is cool. The fact that he's got this little like sword going on is funny. I like the mask with the tubing, almost like he's going into some sort of harsh conditions that he's like blended with. I'm a big fan. Also takes a bit of that MKX style like ribbed jacket look and sort of stretches it out, but I think I like it a little more here. The bigger shapes, the bigger flatter shapes, I like a little more. MK11 design, and it is fine. It's all right. It reminds me, weirdly, he looks a lot like MK11 Rain, which is funny. He's a ninja. He is a ninja. He's got some armor. He's got some, he looks fine. I think that part of the reason, a lot of my disappointment with the 11 designs and why I say they sort of lack personality is I think it's sort of a consequence of the gear system where the developers are sort of, I don't know, I don't want to say lazy, that feels a little mean, but it feels like they're counting on players coming up with a cooler design than they could. So the base designs are whatever. Again, not really what I like out of a fighting game. And then finally, M1K Sub-Zero. I like him a lot. I actually like him, and guess what? He's got the ice hand. I just like the ice hands. That's really it. He's brighter. He's brighter this time. Like a brighter, more standout shade of blue from what I can tell. It's legitimately just the only thing that's separating him from this tier is that he's got ice hands. And I think that that is cool and makes me feel like he is an ice ninja and not just a blue ninja. Yeah, I guess that's a running okay. Now I'm looking at my reasoning and it's making a lot more sense to me. I like it when they lean into the idea that he is an ice ninja and not just a blue ninja. I figured it out. And these ones communicate that, and this one I feel communicates that one the best or in the most interesting badass way. Okay, and then finally I wanted to, just because he is a ninja, give a shout out to Tremor. I have his 3 variations and his base form, his base design here. And I'll rank them from MKX just because, I think he deserves it. I think Tremor is neat. I think he's neat, and his one appearance was cool outside of that spin-off game where, I mean, it's not really worth ranking his Special Forces appearance where he's just brownish and like ninja sort of. Okay, so base Tremor. This is my favorite one. I think that this is the best mix of all of the sort of different variations that he has. Unfortunately, I don't like any of his variations as much as I like his base thing. I think the rock arms and the chest, like the texture on his chest is really neat. Sells the idea that he's this earth-based supernatural fighter. I love the hood and the red eye, like the black eyes with the red pupils. He looks scary and intimidating and like a monster from the deeps, from the depths. I like it. I like it a lot. The Aftershock variation is just him, but with a weird face, and I don't like it. It's just a straight up worse version of the version that he has, like his base design. I don't like it at all. Crystalline, I feel, is better than that because it at least adds the mask back in, but I feel like the super bright, like jade green is a little much. I love green. I love green, but I feel like for the character it's a little too weird of a contrast. I don't know. It also mildly gives me kind of body horror vibes in a way I don't like for some reason. Like it stands out too much. Does that make sense? It's too big of a contrast. And then I think of the actual variations, my favorite looking one would be, what is this, metallic? It's like crystalline, but instead of the weird green, there's the gold, which goes a lot better with like the color of his skin and the brown theming. Like I just think the colors match a lot better, and it retains the parts of his design that are still cool to me. I guess if I had to pick, I would still pick Rock Tremor, but this is some kind of like alternate powered up gold form, metallic form is is uh is acceptable to me. A for acceptable. So really quickly, what are the, let me just do a really broad, I'll do like a really broad tier list of which ones I think are the best and all the way down to the worst ones. I'll start off with my favorites, I guess. Okay, so this is the, don't take this as gospel, and maybe I would slightly reorder things, but this is like roughly from, I think, the best ones to the very good ones that I like, to the just fine ones, to the ones that I'm not that great, I'm not a big fan of, to the ones that I think are bad. Wow, that that's funny. I feel like there's a clear bias in the bad ones. We have how many? 3 MKX designs, an M1K design, and then Unmasked Sub-Zero, all by his lonesome. Yeah, so I hope this was somewhat entertaining. I'm assuming that a lot of people are going to disagree with me on many of these, but actually, I'd love to, if you want to be civil about it, I'd love to hear what you think. What's your favorite design? What's the worst design? What's the biggest thing you disagree with me on? What's the thing you agree with me most on? Thank you for watching.